everyone. Okay, so the idea for today's program came from President-elect Dana, who suggested we do sort of a twist on the vocational lunches we have done in the past. So we invited 3 of our members to come up and teach us a little bit of something relating to their job. And so they're each going to have about 8 minutes with a couple minutes for questions at the end. So up first is Don DePiro.
Thanks, Emily. If you see me scrambling here for the last 15 minutes, I thought this was going to be a panel discussion. So thank God I had notes. So, hey, how about starting with some great news, positive news, good things going on? I don't have any. I wish I did. No, seriously. This is the first time I've spoken since I first became president of your Columbus Chamber, which is now, believe it or not, almost 5.5 years ago. It's amazing. 20 years at Business First as president and publisher, and now 5.5 years at the Chamber. Quickly, not too, we've got some great benefits. We've got a great health insurance plan if you have fewer than 50 associates, so I think I have to pay a fine for this, I'm not sure. But I want you to know it's a great health insurance plan. It's through an Ohio company, Medical Mutual of Ohio. It's helped us. On my first day, our membership was 1,288, and our membership's just about to break 2,100. So we're up about 65% on paid membership. Thank you. A great team. We have a great team. Okay, a couple of things. Number one concern in the economy is inflation right now. I just turned off my phone because the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down over 800 points today. So let's hope it's a one-day aberration. Let's hope that it rebounds. Monday's usually the bad day, the worst day of the week, and let's hope it keeps going. Inflation's an incredible concern. I'm sure you've all heard about what's going on in the housing market right now. My son's girlfriend, who is a nurse at the James, has a very nice starter home in Hilliard that she bought just several years ago for $165,000. And she said she wanted to sell it and put it on the market for $215,000. So that's 50 grand more. My son's, one of his best friends is a realtor. He listed it. He said, we're only going to list it for a weekend. And she said, what do you mean? He said, we're going to have more showings than you can imagine. Over 100 showings in a weekend. He had to stand at the door and limit everyone to 15 minutes and go into the house and shag them out of there after 15 minutes. So she bought it for $165,000. 4 years later, listed it for $215,000. The realtor got a call from an out-of-town realtor who said, I'm representing a client who cannot come in. We're prepared for a $250,000 all-cash offer for your house. Well, they said, thanks, but we're going to see how the weekend goes. She sold the house for, remember, she bought it for $165,000. She sold the house for $285,000. $120,000 more than she bought it for in 4 years and several months. That's what's going on in the housing market. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Shortage of skilled trades right now. We need plumbers and carpenters and electricians, and just an incredible shortage in skilled trades. Our workforce director, Kelly Fuller, last year set a record for how many one-on-one consultations she had with our members. She completed over 300 one-on-one member consultations. Through the first 6 months of the year, at the end of June, she had already done about 215, so she's on pace to do over 400 one-on-one member consultations. 3 major concerns, and out of our 2,100 employees, 65%, 2/3, have fewer than 50 employees. Out of our 2,100 employers, member employers, over 2/3 have fewer than 50 employees. We're talking about small and mid-sized companies. Their main concerns are retention, obviously, attraction, and also they want to hire a more diverse workforce. They look at their employees, they look a lot like who they are. They haven't done a good job on diversity, and we're helping them with this. We have 11 counties in our region. Roughly 2.2 million people now. It's amazing the growth. Well on our way to 2.3 million. We have 188,000 refugees and immigrants. We have a big Somali population, a Bhutanese population. 8.5% of our 11 county population now are immigrants and refugees. Amazing. They want to work. They're great workers. They're hard workers. They're loyal. We're working with social services organizations throughout the community to help identify programs that have, English as a second language, training, things of that nature, to help our members identify new opportunities to hire new associates. So, I was also asked about downtown. We're really concerned about downtown. It's a big point of emphasis. We operate differently than 99% of the chambers around the country. Most chambers have like one ombudsman who, when a member calls in and has a concern, they handle that concern. We have a 5-person member resource specialist team. And basically they're account managers. They handle a book of our members. And so a lot of what I'm going to share with you comes from them and what they're hearing. So by May, about 1/3 of the downtown work. Anybody want to take a guess? We'll have how many people work downtown? How many people do you think work downtown? 90,000. So about 90,000. Now they're with seasonal, and this is full-time, mostly office workers, professional services. About 90,000. As of May, about 1/3 were back. By Labor Day, we're expecting about half to be back, about 50% by Labor Day. The wild card is what happens after Labor Day. We're told, and here's a little breaking news, that the state is going to bring everybody back in September, or begin to bring people back in September. A lot of those employees are state employees. That'll be important. So what are we hearing? A lot, especially our larger employers, are moving to more of either a hybrid or even a work at home. We had dinner with good friends. Wife is a mid-level executive with the Huntington. I said, when you head back downtown? And she said, never. She said, our productivity was so good through the pandemic. We did so well. Our work is done in all of our states that our whole division is staying at home. And we're going to see more of that. And we're seeing it with all of our large downtown employers. So who's leading the way back? Our members. Smaller and mid-sized professional services firms, the smaller law firms, smaller accounting firms, marketing firms, insurance agencies, IT firms, especially those, interestingly enough, that maybe are in an office where many of their employers are actually many of their employees are actually in offices where they work in an office and can close a door, so their safety, their health is not a security risk. They're returning downtown. My son works for a digital marketing firm, an analytics firm, and they took over a doctor's office that had all individual offices, so all like 15 of their associates have their own office. They never went out. They never went out. They worked in the office every day through the whole pandemic. So that's actually what we're hearing. We're also hearing a lot of hybrid work, because a lot of companies don't want to go from 0 to 100 miles an hour. Like at the chamber, we're working remotely on Mondays and Fridays, and we're working in the office Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, just so we can ease the team back in. In today's world, emerging talent, our emerging talented associates, they really got into the remote work, and they enjoy it. And it's become a lifestyle for them. And I don't want to have to hire, I don't want to spend all my time replacing people because they're going to leave for other jobs. I had lunch with a partner in charge, a litigation partner in charge, one of my board members, and the managing partner of an accounting firm, 2 of my board members. I had breakfast with them this morning. And the law firm they're already feeling the pinch from law firms on the West Coast and the East Coast who are starting to hire people from the center of the country and the South, telling them you don't have to leave. The managing director of one of our larger accounting firms, she had an associate making $80,000, got a call from an accounting firm on the West Coast. What he does is almost all remote work. They gave him a $50,000 pay raise, took him from $80,000 to $130,000, and said, you don't have to move. You don't even have to come here for any type of orientation. You could do everything remotely. If you want to come and see the office someday, you're welcome to on us. $130,000, though, a $50,000 pay raise. This is what we're going to see, and this is the pinch, so we have to be creative. I've got some things that our team put together. As business leaders, we need to continue our leadership that we've adapted to over the past 16 months. We have to continue sharing our definitive goals, our objectives, our deadlines, and expectations with all of our associates. We have to trust our employees who have shown that they meet all of those marks in regards to their preferences, and we have to be able to remotely measure their productivity and trust them that they're getting their work done. One of the things I did find that I wasn't crazy about, of course I report to a 35-member board of directors, is that when you work in an office, when you start your day at 8 and you end at 6, there's a definitive work day, right? You're going in the morning, you're working all day, you're going home. So you have a defined start, a middle, and an end. One of my board members who doesn't like early morning work has taken to texting me after 11 p.m. God's honest truth. I had to kind of say, I'm in bed. Can you send me an email so my phone doesn't go off at 20 after 11 and wake me up? But we're finding that. I find myself on the phone at 8. Now, my job's 24/7, so I expect that. But what remote work has done, it's elongated the workday, where you may only have a couple meetings in the morning and one morning in the afternoon and think, geez, I can go hit some golf balls, or I can get on my bike or go for a long walk. But then you find yourself on the phone at 8:30 at night. So it's a win-lose, it's a challenging environment and universe now working remotely, what we're all seeing. A lot of mental health issues, amazing. I scrapped the agenda to our staff meeting. We'll have 22. We have one opening and we're creating a new position. We'll have 22 associates. We had 20 associates in our staff meeting, which we did live last Tuesday. And I scrapped the agenda and I just said, hey, we're coming out of a 16-month pandemic. How you doing? How are you doing? People poured their hearts out. Loved ones they lost. Mental health issues they're having. Drinking. Drug abuse. Said it right open, wide open, right in front of everybody, right in front of their superior, things that they're doing. My husband and I, he's in real estate. He's going nuts. He gets home at 5. We've been cracking open a bottle of wine every night at 5 o'clock. And, we kind of laugh and giggle, but it leads to more serious issues. So we have to pay attention to the mental health of our associates and make sure you have EAPs and that they're available to them and that you're working with them. And I'm finding out it's a hell of a lot more work in a remote universe, because the hard thing is then evaluating your associates too, especially your less experienced, newer associates. How do you evaluate your work? How do you? And I said to him, it's important that we go into the office a few days a week because we do listen to you. We listen to your conversations. We want to talk to you. We want to hear what's going on. So for the time being, we're going to work in this hybrid universe. That's it? We're at it? Okay. Small and mid-sized businesses are leading the way back to the office. We're hopeful things will return to some level of normalcy. We are concerned about downtown. That's it. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Great to be with you.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I'm Joanne Shoreston, and I am a realtor. I have a group of 4 realtors on a team. And I know some of you know this, that I started in this business after being a professional fundraiser for years, 21 years ago, and I decided to write a business plan before I got into the business, and that was to work with organizations that move people in from out of town and need assistance helping to sell their candidates on moving to Columbus. I have 23 departments at The Ohio State University and Medical Center that we work with, and so what happens is when they've got candidates that they're considering hiring to be a department chair or whatever, they put them in touch with me, and then we work with them to help convince the family that Central Ohio is a good fit for them. Now, that's so that when Ohio State says, hey, we've got this job offer for you, the family is always saying, hey, great, let's do it because we love Central Ohio. Of course, the other caveat to that is if it's not a good fit, any of us that are employers know it's a good idea to know that before they take the job, because we don't want to lose people right after we bring them in. So anyway, so that's a little bit about me. I thought as a realtor I would talk about Why are housing prices increasing in Columbus? You heard Don's story. There's nothing unusual about that story at all. We all are still surprised by it, but it's happening all over the place. Well, the one thing that's good to know is that the housing market is really not as bad as it is in the rest of the country. It's not as bad here in central Ohio, believe it or not, statistically speaking. But still, why the rising prices in Columbus? Well, people are moving to the suburbs, which is causing prices to go up. And why are they moving to the suburbs? Again, Don talked a little bit about that with regard to the downtown businesses. In other parts of the country, in bigger cities like New York City, Chicago, we've heard about the mass exodus of people from working downtown and then therefore moving out of the city into the suburbs or back home, back here to Ohio or wherever, because they don't want to be where the crowds are during the COVID. The other thing, and there is some of that here in central Ohio. The other part I feel that is a big factor on why the housing market is going up is because of the supply and demand and the low interest rates. People are seeing these low interest rates, right? Yep. And they're saying, you know what, I better buy my dream house. P.S. It's going to be in the suburbs, a big house with an office, since I will have a hybrid working situation, no doubt. So interest rates are staying down, and people just really want to get into the house that they want to end up being in. Let's see. Oh, the other thing about Columbus, and this is as reported in Columbus Business First. Yes, it was Business First. The median home prices in Columbus have increased 17% over the past year. Here's why, and this is why it's so good here. A limited housing supply combined with good jobs, services, good schools, and a healthy economy is what has caused what I call the, seller's market craziness. Now, craziness is a professional real estate term. Only professionals are allowed to use it. And if you want examples of it later, well, one of them was Don's story about his son's girlfriend. That's craziness. But we can talk more about that if we have time at the end. Now, this is interesting. The other thing is the impact of the rental market on all of this, if you've been reading or hearing about that. So first, Columbus is considered to have, in the country, is considered to be one of the strongest rental markets. Okay, it's one of the best cities for renters, according to a lot of the research that I've seen. It receives high rankings because the same thing as the housing market. Activity in the marketplace, affordability of rental property, and the overall quality of life. In fact, demand for rental property in Columbus is so strong that nearly half of the people that live in the metro Columbus area rent. Wow. I know, wow, is that crazy? I was shocked when I was doing the research on this. Over 50%, yep. So, this is another interesting twist to the whole rental issue. As we all know, people that are usually in their 30s are out buying their first home, right? Well, all these 30-somethings who've been saving their money to buy their house, and now this year or last year they're ready to buy, guess what? They don't have enough money. They don't have enough, the supply is so low, and the market that they're in, the $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 price range, that's the hottest market. There's 4, 5, 10, 20 offers on one house. It's nuts. And so what's happening is this demographic is continuing to rent, which is interesting. So it's having they're just saying, we're not going to get in the buying market now. We're just going to rent. Or worse, for some of us, they decide to go back home and live with their parents. No, my son's not living with me. It could be a problem, though. Anyway, here's just some interesting statistics about the rental market. The average rent in Columbus is about $1,022 per month. Rents in Columbus increased 5% over last year. That's low. if you think about it, compared to the price of houses, 5% is really low. That's why it's such a good market. This is a good place to live. So if you're in the rental market. Let's see other statistics. Yeah, okay. So, so back to the question. Oh, good. Boy, time flies when you're up here. Good grief. I'm only a third of the way done. Just kidding. So back to the question. Is it a good time? Oh, is it a good time to purchase in Columbus? That's an interesting discussion to have, right? Well, the rental is hot, but still affordable. Is it a good time to buy? Not if you're only going to be in a place for 1 year, because of what the rates are doing. The rates, or not rate, the market is going like this. We're not going to have a bubble. The market, as the indicators I see, it's going to flatten out. Okay, it's not going to drop. So don't think that, oh, we're going to. I want to sell my house and wait a year and then buy when the market is dropped. It's not going to drop. This is going to be our new norm, okay, when it finally levels off. Let's see. Oh, yeah, so short term, there's not the bubble. But if you're interested in rentals, being a landlord, now's the time to buy. My guess, Dawn, is that investor that called from out of town that couldn't make it in to look at that house, I'm guessing it was, well, you said what the price range, it was in the 200s. That was an investor. That was probably an investor looking to buy the house and turn it over as a rental. So it's a good time if you are interested in the rental market because it's strong here in Central Ohio. You can still make good money being a landlord. If you're in it for the short haul, not going to happen. But if you're in it for the long haul, take advantage of those low interest rates, even though you have to pay a little more than you thought. Oh, back on that craziness. Do I have 10 more seconds? Okay, back on that, compared to Dawn, I got plenty of time. I'm just kidding. You did speak fast. Stop interrupting me. I only have 10 seconds. But the craziness that I was talking about, we're all big people, we get this. Don't be ridiculous and agree to terms just because you're in a bidding war when you're buying on a house, and tell your kids this as well. Don't buy a house without having an inspection. Do not buy a house saying that you're not going to ask for the remedies if there's anything wrong with it. You cannot do that. It just makes no sense. Just wait for the next house. And finally, I will say the best way to do it, if you have cash, that's the way to buy a house, because the financing contingency and the appraisals can bog you down. Any questions? We'll have questions later.
12:40, my hard stop, ladies. Oh. They aren't even paying attention to my beautiful speech.
We're counting on you to keep time.
7 minutes. Okay, hi, I am Lori Wingard, and I own a company called Home Care Assistance. We do direct care for older adults in their homes and in a lot more now than ever before in communities. But I want to use this time to talk about some interesting news in the aging world. This year, I am chair of the Ohio Advisory Council for Aging, which is the advisory group for the Ohio Department on Aging, of Aging. I never get the ofs and the fors and the ons. I get them wrong every time. So it's an exciting time to be a part of that organization for so many reasons. One of them is, well, first of all, when you said the word pandemic, talk about PTSD. So imagine a field like mine, when I heard about what was going on and everything was shut down. Of course, we're essential workers. Our 200 plus caregivers are going into older adults' homes every day, and all I could think about is how many lives are in my hands. So I'm so grateful for all of our men and women, both clients and caregivers, who just kept doing it. Because our average client has services 80 hours a week. A lot of our 168, which is full time. So they couldn't say we can't have anybody in the house. So we had to keep going, and it's been an amazing experience that I don't terrify easily, but that terrified a lot of us, as you can imagine. So, but back to what's happening in aging right now. As I said, some exciting things. So earlier this year, just a couple months ago, the ODA released its multi-year, multi-agency plan called the Strategic Action Plan on Aging. And they are looking at 15 different areas that we really need to focus on in this state between now and 2030, when 26% of our population is going to be over the age of 65. So I put on your tables just a recap of those 15 areas. And what you'll see in there is an emphasis on elder justice, on equity, and on better choices. So you will continue to hear conversation from me and from ODA and anybody else in the aging field about how important our choices are as we age. So I have brought a statistic with me. And what do I mean by that? About 2/3 of our health span and our lifespan is based on decisions we make every single day. 2/3. It's not genetics. It's what we eat, how active we stay. And part of the reason why the state is so interested in this is partly because they do love you. Like, the state does love all of its residents. However, in reality, and I have some copies of this chart if anybody wants to come get it from me afterward. If you take somebody who's destined to be on Medicaid, Medicaid is the federal and state program that pays for people whose assets are low. Somebody who is independent, active, socially focused, between the age of 65 and by the time they die, will cost the state, because of Medicaid, $1.2 million per person. Those are people who are engaged and active. People who are sedentary, dependent, isolated, overweight, have chronic health diseases will cost the state $6.3 million per person between 65 and death. So you'll see a lot of the items in that action plan right there outline things like nutrition, fall prevention, that really have to be done to educate and to make sure that older adults are, and all of us, it doesn't start when we're 65, it starts at 35, 30, 20, to make those right decisions. Another important topic for aging is the state of Ohio was the last of all 50 states to have an Alzheimer's plan. It was mandated legislatively in 2018. In August, that action plan task force is going to make its first recommendations, so you'll be hearing some news about that. Speaking of Alzheimer's, there is a new drug that was approved by the FDA in June. I can't say the generic name. The brand name is Aduhelm. Interesting, because it was one of the first drugs that was pushed through on this accelerated approval process. 3 people on the FDA advisory committee quit over the speed that this was pushed through. I think that might have been under the Trump administration, saying if there are diseases where people are going to die, and Alzheimer's is fatal, that let's go ahead and try drugs and allow drugs to be tried on people. So we're going to see Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death, and the only one in the top 10 that has no known cause, no cure, no treatment, and it's costing us not just our heart, but a ton of money. So that's important to know. Let's see, elder care communities. I was talking to a new member back there who's in the multifamily field. We can't drive around central Ohio, right, without seeing a new elder care community going up. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. And by that I mean, every study I've ever read, over 90% of us want to remain in our homes, and about 93% of us do. So yeah, only about 7 to 10% of people ever move to a retirement community. So when I hear people say, I want to stay at home as long as possible, I'm like, forever is possible. People are doing it every day. My own parents both had dementia, were at home with full-time caregiver, both died at home. My dad always said he wanted to go out feet first, and that was like one of the coolest moments that we were able to watch, and that's like from the heart, like that is what my dad wanted, and we did it. So the big question with that from a commercial real estate standpoint or any investor standpoint is, what are baby boomers going to do? The oldest baby boomers are now 75 years old. So in the next 5 years, and then I'm on the other end of that, so it's 58 to 75. So over the next 5 years, as baby boomers start hitting the age of 80, are they going to choose retirement communities or not? And that's when we're going to see the trend that lets us know whether the gamble is worth it for those who are building those big, gorgeous buildings. So thank you all. I know that I'm speaking to the choir because I would always like to remind people to plan well, because as you can see with all of the issues facing the older adults in our country and in our state, the money and the resources are going to go to people who can't afford it. So the rest of us are on our own. Sorry to be a downer. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the team. How'd I do?
have you stay up here, Lori. If you want, all the speakers come back up here. We're going to do questions for a few minutes for anybody. Who has questions for any of our speakers? Yeah.
I know the sale of houses is going great. When you sell a house, is there a problem of finding a new house in this market?
Yes.
And what are people doing?
They're buying a house. What people are doing when how do you buy a new house? It's easy to sell. How do you get another one? People are buying houses before they're putting their house on the market, which is such we've always said, gosh, you don't want 2 mortgages. Make sure that you sell your house before you buy another. Yeah. Of course, on the seller's side, the seller is king as far as the terms go. So you can really control, as a seller, how long you get to live in the house after it's closed, etc. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sir Don, with the chamber and retention, a lot of companies want to see their rising stars get into civic engagement, maybe get on boards and all. Is the chamber doing anything for leadership development, Leadership Columbus working with them?
Thank you. That's great. We do. We have a new program, Elevate CBUS. Lori, you have 2.
We've had 3 total.
You have had 3 total.
Wow.
And, I don't want to take anything away from Leadership Columbus, which is outstanding. That's focused primarily, Leadership Columbus is focused primarily on the nonprofit and sector and social services and government. And Elevate is more focused on creating leadership within your own company. It's B2B. It's easy. It's 3 hours a month for, and it's only like $850 or $900. It's really reasonable. We limit the classes to 40 or 45. We oversold. We had companies beg us to get in. We have a new partnership with the Urban League, which is great. We used CARES Act dollars to invite 30 black-owned businesses into the chamber, which is great. We're going to add 40 next year. And we've invited a number of the CEOs into the Elevate program. But I'm happy to help you with that. It's, again, for $850 for what it is. We have a great facilitator, Andrew Kingery. I wonder how your associates have.
Can we do a quick follow-up? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our club used to have a committee that we would mentor minority business owners.
Oh, that's great.
Okay? And we could
That's part of this program.
direct that.
Businesses.
And second, I'd recommend if they get into civic engagement, maybe you invite Rotary to come and talk to them, or vice versa, bring them this way.
That would be great. And I wanted to mention, Andrew, in Dublin,
Yes.
people are selling their homes because you have 2 years to reinvest the capital gains. If you're under
60 or 55.
Yeah, and what they're doing is selling their houses and going to rent an apartment in Bridge Park. They want to live in Bridge Park where all the action is.
Yeah, right.
And they figure we can rent for a couple of years. We're making a ton of money off our house. We'll invest it, and then we'll have money to buy another house in a couple of years, which is a really interesting dynamic.
I don't think it's going to
I might get fined for this, but my name is Jim White. I have a company, Middle High Staffing. I was wondering if I could somehow get involved with your participation in trying to find employees to Columbus.
I'll have my membership director call you. Happy to.
A week ago, the Wall Street Journal reported some major department statistics that the voluntary quits, the 3-month running average, are running at 2.5% per month. That's the highest we've seen going back at least 20 years. That would be 30% a year. Do you expect that to continue?
We're all really concerned as employers. They're calling it the Great Resignation. And I've had a number, next month I turn, in fact, a month from today, I turn 63, and I'm thinking, how much longer do I have to do this? Our 3 kids are 30, 28, and 24. We create total respect to the up-and-coming generations, but they're a handful to manage. And they have great demands and a lot of, and we've created them. I said to my wife constantly, we created. It's a handful. Management is tougher than it's ever been. For those of you who have employees, have associates, it's more of a challenge than it's ever been. And people are just saying, I don't want to have to deal with this remote work. I don't want to have to deal with this the P word we'll say, so I don't have to say it again, you know, we're just going to pack it in. And we were in Western New York, where we're from, over the weekend, and my brother and sister-in-law, who are both 62, turning 63, they both packed it in. They both retired early. But we're going to see a lot of that. Also, people are reassessing what they want to be in a more meaningful position. They want to make a difference. They want to contribute. We're hearing that quite a bit too. So hold on to your people. Hold on to your people.
To your question, I mean, we obviously, with a couple hundred employees, it's impacting our growth immensely by not having enough. We have to turn people away. But because of that, we've created a whole new program now where we understand that turnover is going to happen. And so we're trying to just expedite. It's all about expediting onboarding, rather than trying to stop the flow. It's not always easy to do that.
And that was a really good question, because we all are chiming in. What I'm seeing, and I'm really struggling with this, just from a big picture standpoint, kids these days, they have balance.
That's ageism.
I know. They have balance in their life. That's what they're, in a lot of ways, they're a lot smarter than we are.
Yeah, they are.
Because they know how to have balance. They stop working at a reasonable hour.
All right, thank you.
That was ageism. Thank you.
I'll say one thing about us kids, we are a little bit better at keeping time management. Okay, I'm just saying, you guys, good things, send them to me. My email is super easy. It's my full name, Amanda Bowen, Bowen, @iheartmedia.com. That's all. Have a great day. Thanks for coming.